In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Friday Free-for-All, the show for C3 fans, by C3 fans. I appreciate you all joining me once again. Like I said, this is the Free-for-All. This is your opportunity to join the show and come on and talk Carolina Panthers, man. It's at that point in the season where everybody's feeling kind of in their feelings about this Carolina Panther football team. You know, what kind of chances we have. Are we already talking about tanking? There's so much that goes into it. But first and foremost, let me introduce some of my free-for-all faithful, Nick Montero. Nick, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Cody? You know, it's Friday night. Been looking forward to this day all week. Looking forward to talking some Carolina Panthers football.
Love it, dude. Love it. We're going to have a great show tonight. We always do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, thumbs up. Help us share this show, if you will. Kenneth, Panther Pickle, what's up with you, man?
Hey, man, I'm off for the next 9 days. And granted, I've got to go to West Virginia and the Black Hole, and no disrespect to West Virginia at all. I grew up there. I love the place. But where I'm going, there is no internet, and there is no cell phone service. And I'm going to be there for a couple of days. My mother-in-law's, God love her soul, but I'm going to be in the black hole of death as far as I'm concerned. Because,
are you excited about that? Are you happy for the chance?
Well, in some ways
disconnect?
I am excited. Some ways I'm going to look forward to it, but some ways I'm not. You know, because something's going to break when I'm in that hole. It just
yeah, that's when the big news is going to drop. That's always how it happens, man.
Yep.
Well, glad you could join us today on the Friday Free For All. We're also joined by Brad. Brad, what's going on, dude? It's Matt Rhule's #1 fan. What's up, brother?
Oh, you know, been looking forward to this all week. Enjoying some time on Sport Track this afternoon while I was on my lunch break, playing around with the draft. And playing around with the salary cap a little bit. So, I mean,
nice.
Yeah, I got us up to 57 million. And I got us up to 57 million in cap space by making some creative moves.
Dude, see, I wish that our actual GM and our actual front office had that same kind of wherewithal, man, to be able to clean up money in the right way. But, yeah, dude, we're going to have a great discussion today. Like I said, this is the free-for-all. I have some topics prepared, but you can take it in whatever direction you want to. I posted the link for those watching to join the stream in the chat room. If you would like to be a part of the show, be a part of the conversation, link is in the description of the YouTube and in the comments. Boys, without further ado, let's just jump into it. I'm going to open this up with DJ Moore. Because one, not only is DJ Moore listed as a potential third-string quarterback for the Panthers right now, in case we need him to be, and that is a real story, by the way. COVID is having its way with the NFL. And DJ Moore is listed as a third-string quarterback. But more importantly, I want to talk about him as a wide receiver, because this has been a kind of a hot button topic on our Tuesday night show. And it's basically, there's a part of the fan base that says, yes, DJ Moore is a #1 wide receiver. He can do all the things that a #1 wide receiver does. And I don't know, a lot of people are on the other side saying, well, he's a good wide receiver, but he's not that first, that #1 wide receiver that's going to get open against any coverage, against any defensive back. And I think that warrants a good discussion. So whoever feels strongly about this, whoever wants to jump in first, is DJ Moore a true #1 wide receiver?
He needs more dog in him to be the #1 receiver. You know, he doesn't have that. He hasn't shown that he has the dog this year. Now, I don't know if that's just him trying to say something to the team like, hey, you signed Robbie first whenever I should have gotten paid first. And I feel like he should have gotten paid before Robbie. But it could be that he just doesn't have that dog.
Well, and it comes right down to I watched the tape from the Atlanta game and a bit of the tape from the Miami game. Like his route running is just really sloppy. I mean, it's not very crisp. It's not refined. And the reality of the matter is we're in year 4, right? This is his 4th year, and the route running is still looks like it did when he was coming out of college. So if you're asking, I mean, so I think there's some caveats there. I don't think that he's being used correctly. I think his natural position, he's better in the slot, is kind of like a bowling ball. You put him out there, you get the ball into his hands and let him create yak. But I think that have him as a perimeter weapon and just let him beat you with his speed, because he's very quick. But I do not think he's a number 1 wide receiver. I think he's a solid 2 option.
And can I even add on to that conversation too? I think if you would look at somebody like Cooper Kupp, who right now is leading the NFL in touchdowns for receivers, receptions, receiving yards, and they primarily use Cooper Kupp a lot as that kind of slot receiver. Use his athletic ability, let him get some yards after the catch. I even think that would be a good role for DJ Moore. So, I mean, maybe potentially the question is, can you be that kind of player? Like, okay, let me just ask you this. Would all of you consider Cooper Kupp to be a number 1 wide receiver?
Yes.
Yeah, but DJ, to me, DJ's problem is he was drafted in 2018. The same year Cam started getting hurt. We threw Kyle Allen out there. Gilbert went out there. He still produced 1,000 yards. Then around that time or near that time, or no, before that time, actually, Christian McCaffrey was coming on to his 1,000-yard seasons. And at the same time, and then right when DJ was just starting he couldn't get used to a steady quarterback. Then that time we had the coaching change. And I think DJ's development as a pure wide receiver at role has hurt quite a bit under the multiple different quarterbacks, multiple different coaches and coordinators, and to a point when who's been Cooper Kupp's primary quarterback / coordinators. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot to say to that. So
yeah.
So and if you're DJ Moore, I don't think he's a true number 1 right now. I think he's got the talent to be if he's used correctly. But going back to where Steve Smith and Keyshawn Johnson were together, the question they kept asking was, what is a number 1 wide receiver?
Yeah. And that is a good question. Like, okay, if DJ Moore isn't a number 1 wide receiver, let me ask each of you, who are you comparing him against? When I say number 1 wide receiver, what players pop into your head?
Steve Smith, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson's a number 1.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, even look at like the skill sets of folks like Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's turning out to be a number 1 wide receiver, someone that you can reliably assume is going to run his route properly, right? Whatever route is assigned, whatever the play is going to be assigned, and if you can get him to put the ball in a catchable position, he will catch it. See, that's the other thing that people don't realize is, if you look at the number of, at least this was a couple of weeks ago, but you look at the number of drops in the NFL, Robbie Anderson had 7, DJ Moore had 6, and those were in the top 10 in the entire NFL, right? I mean, you cannot be a number 1 wide receiver and have that many drops. You just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about like what Kenneth was saying? The fact that, and I've said this too, like he's never really had, him and Curtis Samuel never really had a great opportunity to develop here in Carolina. Do you think that might be a part of why he just isn't that sharp of a route runner, or is it something to do with DJ and his own preparation, you think?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint, and it's hard to assign blame as to why he hasn't developed properly. I mean, it really is. Like we could say it's bad coaching. We could say it's his effort. I mean, you know, the truth. You know, they have this old saying, right? That there's three sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth. So it's probably somewhere in the middle of that. It's probably a little bit of his effort and a little bit of the coaching. But you know, we're in year 4. I mean, even with the inconsistent quarterback play, he still put up. I mean, what do we? I guess my question is, what complaints do we really have about DJ Moore? Because he's still on pace to have his 4,000-yard season. I mean, he's still been productive, even though he's probably not what we would define as prototypical number 1. Which is why, I mean, like I said, I've been on this train for weeks now. I don't think he plays another season after this one with us. I mean, I really don't.
I can see that one happening.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is I wouldn't be surprised if he don't ask for a trade, not necessarily the team wanting it, or even if we don't know, even if it's something he mentions to his agent, who calls up the Panthers and mentions it kind of privately, and they agree to it, and we found out about a couple years from now, because you got to think there too. When the Dolphins had Tua, what was one of their top picks? The wide receiver that played with him under college, that familiarity with him. Same thing with the Bengals. I've heard Jake Delhomme talk about certain wide receivers. You know how to deliver the ball the way they like it because you're familiar with them. You know how they like it. You know the little, okay, you know, when the going gets tough, here's what this guy's going to do. If he's getting a lot of DB in his face, here's what this wide receiver is going to do about it. Compared to, it's, you know, DJ's just never had that.
Yeah, and that's something that, so I'll delve into that a little bit more first. Let me add 2 very special guests to the screen. First, you know him and love him for my cat calls. It's the supreme leader himself, Mike. What's up, brother?
What's going on, my man?
Happy to have you, man. Happy to have you. Want you to be a part of this DJ Moore conversation we're having. And then next, he's a member of the 4 Horsemen, man. The 4 brothers that rock every Tuesday night. It's the silkiest, smoothest voice in all of Panther podcasting. My man, CK. Cody Dizzle. What's up, bro?
What is up, ladies and gentlemen?
What up, I am?
There's those golden pipes.
Just out here living the dream, bro. Living the dream.
Love it, man. Love it, man. So, look, let me get the 2 of you involved in this conversation. We've been having a very DJ Moore focused conversation right now. And to add context to this, too, DJ Moore is on track to have another 1,000-yard season this year again. And he's also the Panthers' Walter Payton Man of the Year Award nominee, too. So he's done a lot in the community. I'll open this up to you guys, but then I want your opinion on, does the Walter Payton Man of the Year nomination award, and him just doing a ton of work in the community, does that increase his chances to play on the fifth year option, which would be next year?
I don't think so. I think let's look at the fact that the Atlanta Falcons gave the same, nomination to Mike Davis. Mike Davis isn't going to be a staple on their team for a long period of time, right? He's not. Like, I don't believe that award nomination. Honestly, who else are they going to give that to? Like, I mean, the reality is, you look at this squad. I mean, we got a lot of people that are very likely not going to be on the team very much longer. And that list may include Christian McCaffrey. That may include Robbie Anderson or any of the 3 quarterbacks that we have on the roster right now. Like, even from the defensive minded aspect of things, I don't know that you're seeing a lot of these guys. Like, at least for me, it was a little bit surprising to me because, like, normally, for instance, with Cam and with Thomas Davis, like, throughout the year, they're really showcasing what these guys are doing out in the community, and we're not getting any of that. Like, I couldn't tell you, outside of like what Cam used to do,
when the last time as a Panther was throwing some sort of a charity event of some sort that was of the magnitude of what Cam used to do.
I see it on Instagram all the time, but usually it's mostly the entire team doing it, not just an individual player or something along those lines.
Of course.
This year, Robbie Anderson's honestly been more active in the Charlotte community than DJ Moore has. I mean, and that's just, I mean, at least that's what that his events are promoted much more than DJ Moore's. So
yeah, I have seen a lot about Robbie Anderson. Didn't Cam show up to one of his events just the other night?
I think so.
Yeah, Cam showed up to one of Robbie's events and was taking pictures with people. Mike, let's jump to you here. What do you think the chances are of DJ Moore being a Carolina Panther down the road? One, do you think he's the number one wide receiver? And what are the chances of him playing on his fifth-year option?
As far as the fifth-year option goes, man, it's I mean, that's cool. He's getting the Walter Payton, Man of the Year nomination. I don't think that's going to factor into it at all. It kind of, this kind of revolves around we all thought Terrace Marshall was going to be that replacement for Robbie Anderson if he didn't get signed to that deal. What if this is a potential DJ Moore replacement? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, you do draft two receivers. I think it shows you how easily you can restock that position. Granted, we haven't seen a lot from Terrace Marshall Jr. or Shi Smith a lot this year, but I mean, that's a good point. But also, does anyone think that DJ would feel confident enough in what he has done as a Panther to say, no, I'm not going to play on a fifth-year contract?
Well,
I either get an extension or I want to be traded or what have you. I mean, is there any chance that he plays on that tag?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that he has that dog in him, but his representation, which is Drew Rosenhaus, definitely does.
Oh, true.
Drew Rosenhaus represented Greg Olson, and if you remember correctly, Greg Olson was talking about holding out, and that's what ended up getting our old GM fired, Gettleman.
Yeah.
So Drew Rosenhaus absolutely has that dog in him. So I think if you think about it, we're only, like I said, I did a pretty thorough deep dive on our salary cap situation earlier today, and we have $29.5 million with no rollover right now. We can't bank on how much the league is going to let us roll over, but so we're going to have to assume $29.5 million, right? Our biggest cap hit, the biggest way to free up that money is to trade DJ Moore because he's worth $11 million next year. That's our best cap savings.
He said he would be worth $11 million.
Yep, 10.5 mil.
Man, so look, that's a very point blank question. Is DJ Moore and everything that he has done for the Panthers, is he worth $11 million? And that's to anyone here, anyone in the chat. Is DJ Moore an $11 million receiver?
Yes. Look at the price tag for Robbie Anderson. Look at the price tag for DJ Moore. Who would you rather have?
And that's the thing is, I think that if they had an intention of extending DJ Moore, they would have done it before they extended Robbie Anderson. I don't think this administration, this GM, and this coaching staff has any intention, especially with their draft picks, to extend that man.
I honestly think that the whole Robbie thing was him holding out due to Sam coming. I think he saw enough of Sam in New York to see what was about to happen. He was like, nope, back with this. You guys need to re-sign me now or I'm done. So that way he at least gets that paycheck. Because let's face it, he's 28. So he's not the oldest guy out there. He's got... Yeah, I think he is 28.
I'm going to look him up. Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, but I thought he was 28.
Oh, you might be right. I'm just saying, damn, for some reason.
But he...
No, actually he's 24.
But,
he's that young?
Yeah, he's April 14th, 1997.
I think he's talking about Robbie Anderson, not DJ Moore.
Oh yeah, Robbie Anderson.
Oh, okay, yeah, dude, you're right. I'm
even
so Robbie's coming up on the end a lot sooner than DJ is, and maybe Robbie's like, yeah, I just want to get one more contract and be done.
Well, I mean, signing here was Robbie's second contract. I mean, he was only been in the league for I think like 6 or 7 years. So, yeah. I mean, he's got a longer shelf life. He's got at least about I would say another 4 years in him, right? But I just think it's interesting if you look at how we're paying Robbie Anderson. We're paying Robbie Anderson like we're paying like a number one wide receiver. I mean, we are.
Yeah.
And that's and like I said, I got us up. So the two biggest things I did to get it in Spotrack's free agency simulator to get our salary cap up to $57 million was I traded DJ Moore to the New England Patriots for a late first round pick, and I restructured all of Robbie Anderson's contract. Another thing that's kind of humbling, and I don't know if people realize this or not, but when we restructured Matt Paradis's contract this last year, he's going to count $8 million against our cap next year, and he won't be on the team.
Yeah,
dude, just terrible. That was a Marty Herney deal, right?
No, that was this season, I believe. We restructured Matt Paradis's contract.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But
and the other thing you got to think about too with this is I also traded Shaq Thompson, and that saved $6 million against our salary cap too. I mean,
yeah, but also like the more you trade, the more you're going to have to be able to you're making holes. You're going to have to fill in somehow. Do you trust Fitterer to fill in all those holes? What are you going to be able to get for those people? And then you know what, too? You mentioned trading DJ to the Patriots. God, he would be incredible on that fucking team, dude. Like, that Bill Belichick would just know how to use him to his maximum potential.
Well, and, everybody I've been getting, like I said, a lot of flack on Twitter for suggesting that they trade any of these players. But the reality of the matter is there's always some team out there that thinks they're one player away, right? And is willing to give, if you're willing to trade a valuable asset, and DJ Moore is a valuable asset. He's been the most productive wide receiver we've had in years. If you're willing to trade him, you need to go out there and try and fleece someone for as much value as you can get out of him. And
so, but are the Patriots, or not just the Patriots? Has DJ Moore showed enough for a team to give you a first round pick and pay him $11 million?
Not for 1 year.
Not a first.
No, they're gonna have to be willing to. Well, and that's why I said a late first round pick, because that's essentially a second round pick. I had the Patriots picking at 30 overall, so I have them losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
And then you have to ask who replaces him. Because if you're telling me that we're going into next year with Robbie Anderson and Terry Marshall, I'm telling you good luck with that. Because Terrence Marshall ain't showed me enough that he deserves to be on a roster other than the second round pick.
I'll do one better for you. I think we're going in with Terrace Marshall, Robbie Anderson, and Sam Darnold. I mean,
I'm right there with you on that one. I think we're tanking next year.
We're paying Sam Darnold $18 million. But if now that goes back to the other story, though. If I'm David Tepper, I'm going to fire Matt Rhule at the end of the year, regardless.
Agreed.
And if it may hurt us for this year, but I would highly no, I'm not going to do that. If I was David Tepper, I would cut Sam Darnold this year. It's going to cost us $18 million. It's going to be a bitch this year having to do that, but it's like taking out the garbage. I'm taking it out this morning so I don't have to smell that shit rest of my day.
Yeah, or the saying that I've been using is rip that Band-Aid off now.
Exactly. Exactly. Be done with it. And he's did that in the past.
So
when he wasn't afraid to dump Teddy Bridgewater, even though we could say that was a mistake.
And Cam Newton, I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, Cam Newton,
not afraid
the
to do
difference,
that.
the difference
he wasn't guaranteed money.
Well, right. Cam Newton saved us $19 million in cap space. Teddy Bridgewater actually, I think, still cost us
we saved a little bit. We still
much.
paid him. We still saved money by getting rid of him. But the fact that we still were required to pay him what we did, it's still a tough hit, pill to swallow. Like the Cam Newton thing, that's what was so frustrating about that was we cut him to sign somebody at a guaranteed contract
with the same money
for 3 years and more money actually.
Yeah, it was $2 million.
It was more money than what we were going to be paying Cam Newton for a guy that wasn't proven, and we cut a guy who had been injured, but had proven that he was capable of leading a team to a Super Bowl, right? And that's where my biggest gripe was with that. As much as I love Cam Newton, I think it was clear, and it's similar to the end of Drew. Gosh, I don't even know why I can't. He's so irrelevant to me now. Drew Brees, yeah. And it's similar to him. Like, you could see the decline of the arm strength, and so they had to scheme around that. And I think that the problem is Cam Newton. His issue wasn't just his arm strength; it was that he wasn't even capable of running the ball because of the injuries to his feet. And so now you run into that with him. So you lost a lot of a piece to Cam Newton with the injuries that he was dealing with, and he just hadn't proven that. So I mean, I understood the need to cut him, but to sign in place of him Teddy Bridgewater just again mortgaged our future to a guy who was not proven. And then we went and doubled down on Sam Darnold, which in the moment, I think we all we're kind of gritting our teeth a little bit, but we're also like, well, maybe this can work out. Let's be optimistic, Panthers fans.
True.
And in hindsight, we're also realizing how stupid the decision was to go ahead and pick up his 5th-year option. Like, I know that there was a need to prove that you had confidence in who he was as a quarterback. Like, see, look, we know he is capable of succeeding. We went out and actually even picked up his 5th-year option with no evidence that he could do anything, which, by the way, is the complete opposite of analytics. Like, we want to be analytical. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and be analytical only on things that are really irrelevant to the squad. And that is, we're going to go get a couple of offensive linemen. What the analytics will tell you are injury prone, these guys, both of them. And they've proven that all year long. And we're going to go out and we're going to pick up a 5th-year option of a guy who hasn't proven that he's actually capable of doing anything. So what I'm seeing a lot of is people throwing the analytics out there, but doing nothing to actually follow that up. Right. And by the way, like, I think that we're seeing the Chargers show why analytics is a failure. Like, you shouldn't be using analytics as
That's a good conversation to have. That's a good conversation. Right. So look, let's stay on that topic real quick. We talked about this on Tuesday, CK, but now that we have more people on here, I wanted to play the clip, and then I wanted to get everyone's reaction. Is Matt Rhule throwing Cam Newton under the bus? I'll play the clip.
Okay, falling the ball, 2nd and 1. That's what really bothers you about that. It was 2nd and 1 was fixing it for a really big run. I think we cut off on the back side. We cut off the 3 techniques. It was going to be a good play. So I think Joe, the things that was disappointing is where the turnovers happened. The pick 6 happened at the 40 going in to score. That one happened at 40 going in to score. So you guys know me. I'm other than I know that we have to play better at that position.
It is a little bit soft. I don't know if anybody else is having trouble hearing it.
No, I don't even need to hear it. I've watched it a few times, and I have thoughts. Can I go first, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So here's kind of the rub, right? Is he throwing Cam Newton under the bus? You bet your ass he is. Why is he doing that? Because he should be putting on a master class on how to pass the blame to somebody else. He has blamed PJ Walker, Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater since he's been here. You know what? The one motherfucker he hasn't blamed? Sam
himself.
Darnold. He hasn't blamed Sam Darnold not once. That man turned the ball over. He's talking about turning the ball over 2+2 in back-to-back games more than once. Sam Darnold did that in 3 games. There was that Sam Darnold went almost a month without throwing a touchdown. A month.
Yeah.
And yet he continues to coddle this guy. He continues to dangle out, when Sam's cleared to go, we'll see where we're at with him. I'm telling you right now, he's probably going to be cleared to go when we play the Saints next. And I'm guaranteeing you he's going to release Cam Newton to bring that man off of IR. That's going to happen because Matt Rhule at this point, it's not about winning football games. It's about saving his own skin.
It really does have that kind of feel. Like Matt Rhule is just saying things to make his own self look better. And somebody had put this on Twitter too, that when you look at Matt Rhule's demeanor when Cam Newton was signed, and when you listen at how fast Matt Rhule is willing to throw Cam Newton under the bus, it kind of further adds to that narrative that even bringing Cam Newton back to the Panthers was a David Tepper move. And not only that, but a move that Matt Rhule really didn't want any part of.
Yeah.
He didn't want Cam Newton to be a part of this team. So the minute that Cam Newton goes and throws 2 interceptions, he can say, well, we need to see so much better play from that position. It's like, dude, what are you expecting? And again, so many people call me a Cam Newton stan and fan, and I never can criticize Cam. Look, I'm not saying that Cam hasn't been turnover prone, but you would have to be pretty blind to not be able to see the difference between the kind of interceptions that Sam Darnold was throwing and the kind of interceptions that Cam Newton is throwing.
I have
but my final thing is, at least you can see where Cam Newton wasn't going with the football, what he was attempting to do. Whereas Sam Darnold's interceptions, it's like, dude, he's out there throwing to their guardian angel or something. Like,
right.
Nowhere near him. Go ahead, CK.
Yeah. So my biggest thing with this is, I think, and like when Sam was brought here and they were easing him into the offense, they told Sam, we don't want you to be a leader. We want you to be a quarterback, right? That's it. We want you to know I think that's the ideal scenario in Matt Rhule's mind. He does not want a leader as a quarterback. And that is because I don't think that a leader at quarterback, I think a leader at quarterback undermines him as a coach, right? I think that he believes from a college standpoint, you get a guy like an Aaron Rodgers, a Cam Newton, somebody out here who's going to want to try to run the plays himself, call the plays in those hurry ups, not want to listen to what you have to say. You know, like, I think that is something that is the complete opposite of the type of, prototypical, quarterback that Matt Rhule wants. Now, is that saying Matt Rhule doesn't want a Tom Brady or a Aaron Rodgers? No, but I don't think Matt Rhule is comfortable with that type of leadership on his team. And I think that that's going to be, one of his biggest downfalls. When you say that you don't want a quarterback to be a leader because you don't want him to be overwhelmed, like, that is a problem. That means you don't trust him. Like, that already tells me right there, that you don't believe that he's capable of being what a quarterback needs to be. And a quarterback can be very impactful as a very skillful player. But I think we all can agree the most impactful way a quarterback can really take his team to be successful is being a leader. And that is what Aaron Rodgers does. He demands success from his team, right? He demands success from his teammates. And when he doesn't get it, he has no problem telling them about it. Tom Brady demands success from his team. And when you have that, that's why these teams play up. That's why when you see the Saints under Drew Brees, even when he couldn't throw the ball, like, yeah, Sean Payton is an offensive mastermind, right? But also, Drew Brees was capable of elevating the talent around him because he was able to show them how to play the game and be a leader at doing that. Those pregame speeches, as much as I hated Drew Brees, there was nobody better than him. Nobody.
Well,
pre-snap, post-snap. So, real quick, CK, are you saying that Matt Rhule needs a bunch of yes men around him? That he needs to be the head honcho guy in charge?
Why do you think he goes? Why do you think he goes after all of his previous coach, his players that he's coached? Because it's easy to try to maintain a level of leadership over top of people that still look up to him in that manner, right? Yeah. And so, in my opinion, you go and get some of these guys that are free agents or any of these big personalities. Well, guess what? It's not the Matt Rhule show anymore.
Well, and and that kind of goes on to the whole. I don't know if you guys listen to the Athletic podcast at all after last week, but man, they really took Matt Rhule to task because, as much crap as everybody gave Urban Meyer for going out and getting Florida State and Ohio players, look at the free agents that Matt Rhule's brought in since he's been here. And I mean Matt Rhule because he is, whether you like it or not, whether you believe Scott Fitter is really the GM, he's not. Matt Rhule has the majority of the personnel say. He makes the personnel decisions. And the players he's bringing in aren't Ohio State. They're not Florida State. They're not people that compete on a national level. They're fucking Temple and Baylor.
Yeah. Yeah. No, dude, that's a fantastic point, man. And it's one that we've been saying, literally, I mean, it's been an ongoing joke. If ever we signed a new free agent, what do we always say? Guess where he's from? Oh, that's right, he's from Temple. Oh, he's from Baylor. And it's like it's a joke now. Like there's so many negative tendencies connected to Matt Rhule. It's embarrassing. And my favorite one by far is every time that he compliments a player and says something good about them, you know that something is bad on the horizon for that player, man. It's like the Matt Rhule kiss of death.
Which is why I hated that one statement he said a couple of weeks ago saying, I would never mislead you guys. Right? Because talking about the reporters, like he was trying to answer a question and he was kind of dancing around the question. And he was like, I'm not going to, I don't want to answer because I would never try to mislead you guys. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That has been your entire tenure as a Panthers head coach. Oh, I'm really looking forward to coaching Cam Newton. Cam Newton has been released by the Carolina Panthers. Oh man, I really think that I really like this player. Well, next week he's cut. Oh man, he's going to be a really good player for us. Oh, he's cut the next week as well. Like that's all that you've gotten from Matt Rhule is just deceit. And that's like when you came here with almost this preacher mentality, like I think one of the most important things is trust for a fan base. And I think we gave that trust early because I think he talked like a preacher man, right? And so I think there was a good portion, including myself, that wanted to believe this guy was capable of taking us to the promised land. And the one guy on the show who was absolutely hesitant was Greg, and his exact words were, the guy talks like a preacher, and I don't think that he just seems fake, you know, and that like everything he said was coach speak. He said a bunch of stuff without saying a single thing. And
one thing that he said this week that to me is just smack your mouth worthy. I mean, thank God I'm not a beat reporter or I'm not in that building. I'd have to slap that man because when you're anybody, I don't watch a lot of college football. I just don't. Okay. It's not that I don't like it. I just don't watch it. There's some people who will watch they'll watch college football all day Saturday and pro all day Sunday. I'm just not that person.
Same here.
But I know enough about the college football to know that Baylor and Temple, with all due respect, are kind of like not top tier college programs. And Matt Rhule had to go this week to say rebuilding in the NFL is exactly like rebuilding at Temple and Baylor. You moron.
Tell them.
Backwards baboon moron. No wonder everybody hates you. If I'm David Tepper, I'm already done fired him for that one comment alone.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about all we've talked about tonight, you know there's a reason that some of these current players for Matt Rhule went out of here. You know they talk individually amongst themselves. Now, why would a free agent want to come here with Matt Rhule?
Yeah, and that's what we kind of have to ask ourselves too. Like, if David Tepper doesn't do this soon, does he risk creating kind of, a lesser version of what was going on with Urban Meyer and the Jaguars, where you have this coach that is cultivating a culture in a locker room where they have resentment built up towards the guy who's supposed to be leading them, who clearly has no idea what he's doing.
Well, and and that's the thing is like he talks a lot about the brand, right? The brand, and how it works and everything. And now he's got players out there doing the same thing. PJ Walker was out there, but saying the brand works. It just takes time. They had, I think it was Cam Irving out there saying the brand works, and we're just in the middle of it. Just takes time to get there. Well, your brand is 5-12. Your brand, or 5-11. Your brand is a 5-win team, and we can, I guess my biggest gripe with this whole process is we all went into this saying this is going to be a rebuild, and it hasn't been. And
no, they haven't treated it that way at all.
No, and I think I got into it with with a couple folks on Twitter this week because they said, well, give him year 3 because this is year 2 of a rebuild. What do you expect? If it's a rebuild, you don't sign Teddy Bridgewater to that contract. You don't extend you don't sign Christian McCaffrey to that contract. You don't trade away assets for Sam Darnold. You don't trade away assets for maybe you still make that trade for CJ Henderson as a developmental prospect because in reality we didn't have to give up that much for him. But
Right.
you don't give away in a rebuild, your cap space, your resources are king, right? Your cap space and your draft picks. You don't just give those away. You draft your players, you make smart decisions, and you trust your coaching staff to make it work. And this hasn't been a rebuild. And I'm so tired of people giving him a pass because saying that it is. It's not a rebuild. He went into this thing saying, we're going to compete right out the gate. You can't compete. There's a way this is done in the NFL. You take that first season on the chin. You see gradual prospect in the first year, which I think we kind of did see a little bit of developmental.
For sure. Most of our games were like 3-score games.
Yeah,
in
it
Matt
was.
Rhule's first year.
Yeah.
And now let's look at year 2. We're not losing by 1 score. We're getting blown out by bad teams. I mean,
we've regressed.
I don't understand how anyone can look at this and go, okay, the brand works.
Well, the biggest joke is when you hear players say the brand works. Let's go back to who says this.
Well, it's the Temple lackeys.
Yeah,
I mean,
Cam Irving say this. PJ Walker. Now, in reality, if Steve Smith was to get on national television and say, Panther fans, the brand works, calm down, it'll be all right. That may go far. That may go a little bit. If you have veteran, hardcore experience, even retired Panther players come out and say this, it will calm some Panther Nation down. That's not what's the case. The veteran Panther players are already out there, or the retired players are already out there saying, "Yo, this ain't it. He got to go." Some of them are nicer than that, but it all comes down to the same bottom line. He got to go. This ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Trey
Real quick,
is a great follow.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these players would not be in the NFL if Matt Rhule was not an NFL head coach.
Hey, real quick, let me go to Mike. Mike, that last clip I played, it was kind of soft. I don't know if you were able to hear it. But do you think do you think Matt Rhule threw Cam Newton under the bus? And just what do you think about Matt Rhule in general?
Now he definitely threw him under the bus. He put the whole O-line on the bus. He slashed the tires, and then he threw him under the bus. Okay, and it's like you really didn't do the same thing when Sam Darnold was having all those turnovers. He was trying to put it on the defense, and at this point, I'm like I want to give him. I wanted to give him another year, but at this point, it's like I'm kind of done. He pushed all his chips in this year. He pushed them all in, and it didn't work. It didn't. He went about it the wrong way, but he gave us the juice, and we drank it. We trusted him, and honestly, fucked it up.
Yeah,
horrendously, horribly. He did a horrible job. And I'll put it out there like this. I mean, he put all of his chips in Sam Darnold. Let's be real about it. He put everything into Sam Darnold. He put his entire reputation on the line, saying Sam Darnold, by doing that 5th-year option, that was them putting everything on that. Had that not happened, had they gone out and actually drafted an O-line and we went forward with PJ Walker on the roster as the primary quarterback, or even, we found somebody else who may have been some sort of a veteran like a Flacco or something like that to come in and lead the team while we are getting, it still feels like a rebuild mode, right? Because you're not putting all your chips in one basket. They went out and put all their chips in Sam Darnold. They traded for it with a 2nd-round pick, which, by the way, if you guys don't realize, that's one thing people don't realize, how much that's going to be, how expensive that trade was. If we had done good this year, no big deal. Right now, it's a late round, 1st-round pick that we're giving away for Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold has been basically nothing for our organization, and we have given away a top 10 2nd-round pick right now. That's basically what we're on track for. And the Jets are absolutely praying for us to continue to tank. because they are looking forward to having better draft pick for that second round pick to compensate for getting rid of a quarterback that they put all their chips in Sam Darnold. So, like, it's super expensive. Had that trade not taken place, Matt Rhule, I don't care how bad this year was, if he got rid of Teddy Bridgewater and didn't go out and put resources into another quarterback that tied us down for at least 2 more years, I think we'd still not have as much of a hatred for what Matt Rhule's done. But right now, they've done just everything they possibly could to tank this organization for the long term.
And Mike made a point, and that was fantastic. Dude, this season has been so long. It's like, it feels like when Matt Rhule was putting all the blame on the defense, even though Sam Darnold was playing so bad. Dude, that feels like months and months and months ago now. It feels like so much has happened between then and now. I'm like, damn, Mike, you're right. That was this season. Like, you can see the correlation and how hypocritical he is and how he treats certain players over others. It's kind of despicable when you get down to it.
Well, and to kind of go on CK's point, people don't realize just how much he has screwed this team over. I mean, really screwed us over. We only have 20. Like I said, even getting creative in with the salary cap next year. Let's say we go in with $60 million in salary cap. That's not enough to re-sign Cam Newton, re-sign Hassan Reddick, re-sign Stephon Gilmore, and make investments in your offensive line. If there are any offensive linemen that honestly make it free agency. People keep acting like free agency is going to help fix our offensive line. We don't have the money for it. And the people that make it to free agency as far as offensive linemen are the guys that teams didn't want a franchise tag or weren't willing to pay. So they're the same kind of bums you got during last year's free agency.
That's why I mentioned about the Saints. The only one that I could see, and that's because the Saints have, like, unless the Saints are, again, like, they have constantly pushed this off, and this year their cap situation is coming to a head. There is no getting around their issues they're running into this year. They are in the hole big time, and there is no signing. They're not going to be able to sign Armstead. Unless there is some major trade with Michael Thomas or something along those lines. But Michael Thomas is, I think, damaged goods at this point as well because of everything going on with him. And I just, like I said, they've got too many high price contracts to try to wade through. There is just no shot, especially with not having a quarterback that they try. Like, I think a lot of times, like, players are willing to reconstruct their reconstruct the contract or take a pay cut because they see a Drew Brees is capable of leading them to a Super Bowl. They're not going to feel that same way with a Taysom Hill. Let's be real about it.
Well, and that's a good point, but at the same time, like, would any of us be surprised if they managed to figure out a way to re-sign Armstead? I mean, I wouldn't be. Not with the voodoo. I swear, the Saints front office, they do voodoo, man. Like, they have some fucking voodoo shit that they're able to use to skirt around all their cap nonsense. It seems like they're always like $70 million in the hole, yet they find a way to bring guys in, pay guys. Paid Taysom Hill crazy money, which is like, well, they extended Kamara last season too. Like, I'm waiting for that to blow up in their face, but I might be waiting a while.
Yeah, Kamara is interestingly durable.
I know this week Kamara and Taysom Hill are like the only 2 weapons that the Saints have on their roster
COVID,
this week.
Bro.
Yeah, but that kind of brings me to another conversation. Last week, Nick was saying that, hey, we should consider tanking, and I kind of wanted to use that to move the conversation along. Are we at that point where we're disappointed if the Carolina Panthers manage to pull off a W? Like, I mean, okay, let me ask you this. I normally ask game predictions at the end of the show, and I'll still do it, of course. But, I mean, how many of you are going to be disappointed if the Panthers beat the Buffalo Bills? You don't have to say that that's true, but if that's how you feel, let us know. How many of you are disappointed if we lose to the Buffalo Bills?
So look, I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks, okay, and I'll say it tonight. Let's go Bills.
No.
I
keep
want the
rumbling,
Bills.
huh?
Listen, this is an interesting situation, right? Out of the entire NFL, I have one team that I want to continue to win and win out and win the Super Bowl, and that is the Buffalo Bills.
I agree, Chase.
You
I
know,
agree.
that is
I
the
do.
only team
Yep.
that I do not have a problem with. Like every other team, is arrogant and just like the Bills are successful, but in a way that just like I don't want to say classy because like there is some swagger you want to have, and I think Josh Allen has it. But I think the Bills are that like number one. There's having McDermott and Brandon Bean. There's kind of a secondary, pride and seeing their success being what it is.
Yeah.
But I just like, not only will this win, if they win this week, will it be helpful for our draft pick? It'll be also helpful for them trying to take over the number one spot and try to beat the Patriots, because I cannot stand the fact that the Patriots are like up there at the top of the list.
So I don't know what
I'm right there with you, CJ.
I don't know what it is now that the Chiefs beat the Chargers last night. I know the Chiefs are, I think they're the number one seed in the AFC right now. But for most of the past week, the betting favorites to be in the Super Bowl were the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like that was like the odds-on favorite Super Bowl for us to see.
Can we like talk about how Greg always talks about how it's a TV show, and the fact that maybe the Super Bowl just leads to that exact thing? The fact that Mac Jones didn't get fined or suspended for his ankle twist on Brian Burns allows them the opportunity to continue a streak of wins that may give them the opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl and face Tom Brady, who was their quarterback for so long, that brought them so many wins, and now it's going to be the old quarterback versus the new quarterback to see who is going to reign supreme. Like, does that not just tell you exactly what the NFL is, and it's just this big TV show?
Well, and I think honestly, like I think Tampa Bay is going to win it this year, just because that's the way that you look at the way that they did Peyton, right? Because I mean, I don't give a shit what you say. Kotri caught that fucking ball, all right. Anyway, but the way they did Peyton, like, he sat out most of the year when it became very clear this was probably going to be his last season, and then they coasted to the Super Bowl. Like all of a sudden they went from being a wild card team, barely on the cusp of making the playoffs, to the number one seed, and then they coasted, right? I think the NFL, to a certain extent, especially with the officiating and the way things have gone the past couple of years, they want Tom Brady in that Super Bowl. They want him to win that one because they want to give him let him ride off into the sunset.
Right.
Have
And
that
they will-
truly legendary finish.
And they will every year till he retires, just like did Peyton Manning.
Right. I mean,
That's just.
It's a tough scenario to be in, man. And then like talking, go ahead, Kenneth.
Well, I just wanted to say also another guy that we don't talk about often that's on the Buffalo Bills coaching staff is Eric Washington.
Did he get over there? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he's their assistant defensive line coach.
Oh, so he took a big step back. He was our defensive line coach before he became the defensive coordinator. So he went back two different positions.
I thought it was odd when Ron Rivera was putting together his staff for Washington. He not one time considered Eric Washington his job there. I've heard he offered Steve Wilkes a job as the secondaries coach, but Wilkes wasn't ready to go to work for the NFL. Now he works for I think Michigan or Michigan State as your defensive coordinator.
Well, but also if you're Washington, though, think about how he was looking at it. The Bills, they were favored to win the AFC.
Yeah.
So I mean, you would go and be a D-line coach if you thought you might be able to win the Super Bowl doing so.
Plus, also you got to look at the time. A lot of people were looking at Leslie Frazier as a head coach, future head coach, and he could have had still dreams of being a defensive coordinator under Shane McDermott. Maybe in the future,
or at least get the defensive line coach.
Exactly. So he'll have a step in the door anyway. If Leslie Frazier was to go off to be head coach, but even as head coach, Jim Caldwell, I forget about him. He's getting a lot of attention as a possible head coaching candidate this year for multiple teams. I know he's a retread, but I sure
Yeah.
like to have somebody with experience.
I mean, at this point in time, I think we all like. I mean, can you guys recall? Like, I think we tried this, and I think Greg may have brought it up, and I'm really honestly curious now that it's come to this point where we are of the mind that Matt Rhule is done. When has the college experience, coach worked out in the past 10 years?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh, and I would also say Pete Carroll.
Well, Pete Carroll got fired his first time as a head coach, though, right? He came out, was a head coach, got fired, went to USC, went back to the college ranks, did well at USC, left that program in shambles, and then went to the Seahawks, right?
But Pete Carroll, did not Pete Carroll go to a couple Super Bowls when he was head coach before? I heard this conversation on the radio on WFMC.
He went to.
I was asking.
He went to.
I said that.
Right. He was on the staff of a couple Super Bowl teams, but he wasn't like a head coach.
Okay. I heard him talk about this same conversation on the radio the other day. So the reason why I brought that up is because, and they were saying that while Jim Harbaugh, see, up into this conversation I heard on the radio, I would have considered Jim Harbaugh as a future Panther coach, but then at the same time, I don't know how him and Mr. Tepper would get along real good. They centered, But anyway, that might be entertaining up there in the box. But
well, and if you look at what he's done with Michigan this last year, I mean, Harbaugh, wherever he goes, like I think his NFL record was like 44-16. Wherever he goes, he just wins, right? Whether that's the NFL or college.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'll ask y'all this. I don't remember a lot about Harbaugh. They were talking, and I even chatted with a few people online about this. They were saying that Harbaugh had issues in San Francisco that he wanted to control, and they wouldn't give it to him. That threw an alarm bell up to me when I heard this. But that's the only two. Like I said, I haven't heard this up until the other day in that same conversation. So that makes me question.
All the college coaches, I think, want the same thing, right? Which is they want to control their staff and they want to control the roster, because that's what they have. At the end of the day, when you're a college coach, your number one job is recruiting and roster building. That's what you do, right? You don't have to provide a schematic advantage. You put people that, your coordinators in to provide that schematic advantage. You just have to worry about getting as many, 4 or 5 star recruits as you can. And that's really all. That's all Harbaugh wanted to have to do in the NFL. That's all Pete Carroll does. I mean, Pete Carroll doesn't really provide a schematic advantage either. He's really good at roster building and basically being a pseudo GM. I mean,
and something else about college coaches, CK. I hadn't thought this till I heard it. Then I looked it up and found it to be true. Even the Arizona Cliff
Kingsbury.
Yeah. But he surrounded himself with NFL coaches because he didn't hire his own coaches. I guess the GM for Arizona hired the coaches. So he was a college head coach. He surrounded him with the veteran coordinators who knew what they were doing.
Well,
yep. Hey, real quick, I wanted to welcome Yaheem Yadfri to the conversation. Yaheem, what's up, brother?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Yo, what's going on?
And chilling, man. Hey, what do you think about Matt Rhule as the do you think that he will be our coach next year? And what did you think of his season thus far?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Check to see if you're on mute, buddy.
Yeah. I think his microphone was messing up. Go ahead, Brad.
One thing I would like to say though, there's a lot of comments going around that we need to lose out. And while I totally get that, you got to remember all you're doing by losing out is inflating that second round draft pick. That's all you're doing. And you're making it's going to be much harder if we lose every game and things break our way, the best we can do probably is the number 5 overall pick.
Right.
There's no really big build quarterback in this draft. There's not a lot of talent that people are going to be willing to sell the farm to trade up and get.
Right.
So if you're trading that number 5 overall pick back, you're not getting very much value for it. You might be getting a second round, an additional second rounder, an additional third rounder, some combination of those things, but you're probably not getting like multiple first round picks to move up.
But but even that though, couldn't you say that the Panthers need that? I mean, if we, the draft might not be very top heavy this year, but if the Panthers could potentially stock up on a bunch of important positions and get, a second round, a third round pick, would you guys be open to the possibility of trading back to try and further build the team through the draft rather than have to go and get a Teron Armstead or have to build out the rest of the roster with free agency dollars?
Depends on who the head coach is.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you.
It also depends. It also depends on what team is a team willing to give you something for that pick. If it's in the top 10 period, is there something available in the top 10 that a team's going to say, yes, I want that pick to get that guy?
So in my drafts,
I mean, if there's a left tackle there, I just do take the left tackles to trade back.
There's going to be a few left tackles. I actually had us trading with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were moving up from number 18 overall to pick up Matt Rhule earlier when I did my mock draft. But yeah, I mean, the thing that I think people don't realize is like, if it doesn't matter if we have Rhule next year, or we have a new head coach, that first round pick's a quarterback. I mean, that's probably happening. Either it's going to be a quarterback or it's going to be leveraged in a trade package for an established quarterback, because they're tired of losing. And what we're going to do the same exact thing we did last year which is we're going to go into next season with the blame being laid at the feet of the quarterback of this team.
There's no quarterback in this draft that's going to step on the field and make us win. There's just not. I mean, dude,
you can argue that the past few years, even for the amount of good quarterbacks that have come through the draft, I mean, other than Mac Jones landing with the greatest head coach of all time, even Justin Herbert wasn't a playoff team his first year. So I think part of that conversation is, no matter how good the quarterback is, I mean, yeah, we might end up finding a franchise quarterback, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be any better next year if we're not able to continue to build this offensive line, which, by the way, PFF has ranked as quite literally the worst pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. Like, they're absolutely terrible.
If we take a quarterback in this next draft without realistically shoring up the offensive line, not some yo-ho in free agency that nobody wants any damn way. True. If you want a good comparison, take a look at the Jets. The way Wilson's getting beat up, that's what our quarterback next year is going to look like. He just is. He's going to get beat up. You say re-sign Cam, well, that's a great idea till Cam starts taking that beating. That's just what's going to happen. So even if you keep Sam behind that, then you're going to, we'll put Sam as number 2. So by the time they get to our rookie, maybe the other 2 will get beat up. That's going to happen.
Yeah. Let me go to Nick real quick. Nick, do you think the Panthers, let's say we're picking in the top 10, do you think that we should just stay there, pick the best player available, and just continue to go forward? Or would you consider trading outside of the top 10, try and move down and just keep on getting picks and let Federer throw the dart at the board a bunch of times?
The problem is I can't give you a real answer with that right now, because we don't know what we have in Brady Christensen, and we don't know what we have in Deontay Brown.
Yeah, but we might not. I mean, I think that we
probably won't by the end of the season.
I don't think,
which is the problem. Now, if it was me, I'd be sticking Brady Christensen at left tackle all day long. He had the highest grade at left tackle this season for us. So let's put him there. Let's let him make his bumps and bruises now while we're trying to lose out for the rest of the season. So that way, worst case scenario, we get a better draft pick. Okay? Now it sucks that we gave up our second round to the Jets, but we got to live with it. It's a choice that Scott Fitterer made. We can't go back and change the past. Because if we could, we would change a whole lot of stuff. let's face it, we wouldn't have Sam Darnold, or if we did, we would still have drafted a quarterback in the draft and then tried to trade Sam like week 3 when he actually had some tape that looked decent. And we could have gotten something for him and then rolling with Justin Fields, or I would never want to run with him, but Mac Jones. You know, we could have done a whole lot, but I think we need, if we are trading, it's got to be for a late first round pick, but then the rest of the picks I would want would be in 2023. Get rid of Matt Rhule. He's not going to be the answer at head coach. You know, and let's build the team in 2023 and come at this with a fresh start when we have a lot of players that are not hitting our cap the way that they are this upcoming year.
Yeah, and you know, looking at that too, it's like we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. If we draft a quarterback, then all the things that we already said are true. You don't have the offensive line in front of them that's going to be able to protect them or be able to run the football effectively. You know, again, we talked about DJ Moore earlier. Who knows if he's going to continue to be here next year? That's more turnaround. It's like you're not putting him in a good position. But then the alternative of that is if you go heavy offensive line, like now we're still back at this quarterback conundrum. Who would you rather have under center? Sam Darnold or Cam Newton? Because there's a lot of people who don't think that either of them are a good answer. But I would still argue that Cam always gives us a better chance to win than Sam Darnold does. And I don't have any connection to Sam Darnold. So, you know, I understand that people just want to call me a Cam Newton stan. But I maintain that if you are interested, like we all are, I feel, in building this football team, getting more draft picks, actually adding to the entire core of the Carolina Panthers, I still kind of want to give Cam Newton the benefit of the doubt, give him an offseason, let him have OTAs in preseason and learn the playbook, preferably with an offensive coordinator he'll have around him for longer than, I don't know, 2 weeks at a time. Let's actually give Cam Newton the benefit of the doubt before we cast him off with the other quarterbacks who couldn't make it in the NFL, and let's build the football team. To me, that seems like the most prudent answer, but a lot of people really are done with Cam at this point right now.
He got an unfair shake, though. I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Mike. What you think?
To build on what you said, he got an unfair shake. They brought him in middle of the season to try to get fans back in the stadium or whatnot. Whatever they did, it's frustrating, man, with everything that's happened up to this point. And
if I can chime in, you know what Matt Rhule says that Sam or Cam don't know the playbook. You know, that's bullshit. I mean, pardon my language. That's just horse crap. It is. Because Sam or Cam Newton is a veteran in this league. Y'all have watched a lot of football. Tell me, in the NFL, how many times a team hires or signs a quarterback off the street, and within a month, or less than a month, they're ready to go on the football field and starting?
Yeah.
It's not the first time. It's not rocket science. They've done this before. We had Vinny Testaverde was on the streets. We signed him. We signed Kyle Allen, and he come up on the field. This is not the first time this has ever happened. There's been countless of quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that have come off the street for a new team, started, and they learned the playbook in less than a month. Either, and no offense at all, but either Matt Rhule and his coaches are blatantly lying to us. Their playbook is extremely hard concept, or somebody's stupid. I mean, they just are. I mean, one of them's got to be true.
Is there an answer for all of the above?
Well, me.
Well, and and I get it. I get where some people. I used to not particularly care for Cam either, right? Like, my biggest problem with Cam over the years has been the inconsistent play, because whether you're a huge fan of Cam or not, he's just, you never know which Cam you're getting on a week-to-week basis. He might throw 3 touchdowns. He might throw 3 interceptions. You don't know, right? And after the past 2 years, I can say I would rather have an inconsistent Cam Newton than the consistently bad quarterback play we've had for the past couple seasons. I mean, I would. It's not even, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And I don't understand how any fan of this team can still sit back here and look at the current quarterback situation and not understand that Cam Newton gives you the best shot at winning.
Agree.
Yeah,
Totally
and
agree.
Oh, I
yeah,
agree.
and again, it's like I'm not even trying to say that Cam has been good this year. Like he's had his flashes where I thought he played okay, but the offensive line has been so bad. And then I feel like for those of us who were in in high school, it's like having those open book tests, and you can use your notes and like actually to use that to take the test. And Cam Newton is taking the same test and gets none of that. Doesn't get to use his notes. Doesn't get to use the book. It's like, and then when he, has to take that same test, he's graded on such a different curve. It's like it's unfair to put it all on him when he's always having to play from behind. Again, I just think that if you want to build this football team and actually bolster the offensive line and the defensive line and add some more safety help and some linebacker help, then dude, pay Cam Newton, trade back a little bit, do everything that you can to build the trenches, and then let's judge Cam accordingly after a year where he has had the time, where he does have pass protection, where he doesn't always have a blitzer right in his face because Cam Irving or Dennis Daly missed their assignment. It's like, people think that I'm just making excuses for Cam Newton, but I think that that's a legitimate take to have. But I don't know, man. A lot of people are done with Cam, but I just think it's our best option.
Well, and I'm gonna say it might give away something here, but when you see a lot of the people on Twitter that are complaining about Cam Newton, there's a whole lot of MAGA hats on those profile pics. That's all I'm saying.
But dude, and then there's even some people that like, bro, like I've even seen a lot of people that I would consider to be like Panther, like Cam Newton fans that I've been following on Twitter for a long time, and even they're like done with him, ready to move on, say that it's all on him. I think because of how Cam Newton did the whole "I'm back" thing, and had everyone so pumped up and excited. All of that excitement was because of him, and then now that it goes bad and all that excitement is taken away, Cam Newton is a lightning rod, and now everyone's putting all the blame on him, and I feel unnecessarily so. So it's like, dude, no matter what your once upon a time opinion on Cam Newton was, I just feel like now everyone has so little patience with the entire organization that now they're just lumping Cam Newton into that same criticism.
Yeah. Well, including the head coach, right? Like, I don't know how you have the stones to come out after watching the tape on Wednesday and say that, oh, my quarterback turned the ball over 2 times. Your center that you brought in on day 1 of free agency literally stepped on him. And the running back that you took in the 4th round literally had that ball in the breadbasket for him. I mean, it wasn't like, I understand you can have the notion that, oh, Cam Newton should have fallen on that fumble, whatever, right? But he still reached out. He still put the ball within reach for Hubbard, and all Hubbard had to do was wrap his arms around it.
All Hubbard had to do was pay attention. Like, he wasn't looking, he wasn't prepared. Like,
and Pat Elflin stepped on his foot. He literally had his foot stepped on.
I don't get it. That's why, like I said, I said it last week. The second Matt Rhule really should put on a masterclass on how to blame everybody else for his failures, because we talked about DJ's route running. We talked, they're the 4th penalized team in the NFL. I mean, they have the most timeouts taken outside of the 2-minute warning in the entire NFL. I mean, there are so many schematic deficiencies here. There's so many game management issues. There's so many issues with this team that just tell you that they're undisciplined and soft, that I don't know how you can sit back on in front of that podium and blame your players. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not. I said on the Tuesday show, it's not leadership. The head coach is supposed to be the leader of your entire football organization. and he just shows no leadership ability. And I feel like me, CK, Tony, Greg, we were all lambasting Teddy Bridgewater for the similar things. And he was just the quarterback. Like, yeah, the quarterback is the leader on the field. But now when your head coach isn't taking responsibility for his own actions, like, dude, we have to keep it a buck and just say that this dude ain't it, man. Like, we have to apply that criticism fairly. And if you're not going to go out there and fall in front of the bus for your teammates, essentially the coaches are a part of the team. Your players are going to play harder when they have a coach that goes to bat for them and doesn't use an opportunity in front of the media to destroy them and say, oh, they need to play better. It's like, we've seen this all season from Matt Rhule, and the entire fan base is just dead tired of it.
Real quick, I want to touch on the whole Cam Newton thing. I mean,
yeah.
I'm up here in New England, so I got the guys who had Cam Newton all last year, who saw him in the off season, that sort of deal. That we all talk at work, we all talk football, everything like that. Okay, and a lot of them think that he's done just because of everything that happened last year with the season that he had. And quite honestly, they kind of have a point. Let's face it, he did not perform as good as he could have last year, but I am also the first one that will sit here and say, who did he have to throw to? He is coming in 1 year off of Tom Brady. Look at the shoes that he has to fill. And the fact that they went 7-9 last year, whenever you bring in a brand new quarterback, hey, that's not half bad. If we had gone 7-9 this year with Sam Darnold the whole year, we probably wouldn't be too crazy upset. But the fact that Sam Darnold played that he did, the way that he did in October and November, that was just abysmal. I don't know about you guys, but I knew that the season was over. That pick 6 with New England. I remember sitting in my seat watching that and feeling so disgusted with the fact that that was the quarterback of my team, and I drove 850 miles to see it. It just made me sick. I'm like, yep, nope. This is when I knew that the season was over. And then Cam.
I was about to say, no, go ahead, finish your thought.
And then Cam came back, and I kind of had that resurgence of, hey, maybe we can do something. But at the end of the day, Cam has not gotten a fair shake this season. And I will say that to you guys. I'll say that to all New England fans. Cam still has something in the tank, but he needs to have a team around him. He can't be the only guy anymore. Okay? He's gotten beat up way too much in order to be the one guy on the team that can make things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. That's actually a good question, too. Okay, so I get the feeling like everyone in this room, your hopes for the playoffs have been dashed. I'm assuming that's true for everyone in here. So we'll just go around the room real quick. When did you feel like this season was over? Dead, DOA, dead on arrival. We'll start with Mike. Mike, when did you feel like this season was over? If you do feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's over. There's too many tiebreakers that teams have on us right now. At the point that I thought the season was like kind of realistically over was it had to be that Miami game, because at that point they were trying to pull out all the stops, from they did the CJ Henderson thing, the Stephon Gilmore, they bring Cam back. They pulled out all the stops, and we are still getting our backs blown out. And at that point,
yeah,
we were done. That was it for me. That's game over.
Yeah, dude, that was a tough one, man. And then, especially thinking back to the Dolphins, that was right after the Cardinals. They were the 1 seed. We beat the 1 seed. We were feeling good about ourselves, man. Just for it to have it ripped away from us. Kenneth, what game would you say was that's when you knew this season was trash, over and done with?
We lost to Washington. Washington just, I can't say it was a massive surprise, but I knew then. Okay, Cam had his hurrah moment. It's over. Let's pack. Let's just go pack because this is what it is.
Yeah.
Sam was gone. Sam had his hurrah moment, then his die moment. And Cam came back, has his hurrah moment. And, he leveled out. I knew it right then. But I pretty much lost faith in the coaches, per se, shortly before that as well. It wasn't. Oh, yep. I know we're not going to the playoffs. I pretty much lost faith in the coaches at that point.
Yeah.
I've always been a coach supporter. Even through the Ron Rivera rough terms, I've always supported a coach long before when everybody else gave up. I just have. I except Matt Rhule. I don't support Matt Rhule, and I'm hardcore to say that till we get rid of him, everything else is mute because he not only doesn't develop players, he hurts development of players.
Mm-hmm.
So till you
Sure.
get rid of him, anybody you draft, he's going to ruin that development.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely is not a developer of men. He's not a leader of men. He can't evaluate his own lines. It's bad. CK, when would you say it was your point in the season where you're like, well, that's a wrap. We can go home now?
I think it was pretty clearly, in my opinion. I think it was the Patriots game. It's. I could say a lot of games up to this point, right? I think we were exposed, at least our defense was early on in the season, against a lot of people that we shouldn't have been exposed against. I think when we started to lose, what were some of the games that we should have won, but we didn't win because of
New York Giants.
So
Yeah,
the
like
New York
That was the big
Giants-
one that started the downhill for me. Like the Dallas one and the Vikings one, I was okay with. But the Giants, the blowout to the Giants, like, come on. It's the Giants, and you aren't even going to score a touchdown? What the hell is wrong with you?
At that point, they were one of the worst teams in football, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They still are one of the worst teams in football. And
But
I
yeah,
really don't know
they
what
still
you're talking
are.
about.
Yeah.
And they didn't have Saquon Barkley, by the way, either. Like that's been, I think, the biggest part of all of this is we've lost to teams without their best players. Like
and not just lost, been blown out by them.
Right.
I mean, it's losing to them. It would be an understatement. I mean, that's really not the gravity of the matter. Is we got our asses handed to us while Daniel, the quarterback for the Giants caught a pass. Yeah, Daniel Jones. Right?
Jones.
God, I can't. Yeah, he caught a pass from a wide receiver and it wasn't like they didn't have Saquon Barkley. They didn't have their starting left tackle. They didn't have Nate Solder. They didn't have Kadarius Toney. They didn't have. I mean, they were down. I think it was 11 total starters that game, and we still got crushed. For me, that was the game. That was the one where I was like, "Yep, let's hang it up," because this is not sustainable. Right. I mean,
yeah,
I had my misgivings about Matt Rhule. There were warning signs going into the season after the end of last season. Like I didn't think that Teddy Bridgewater, I wasn't happy with his play, but I also didn't think he was terrible. And it looked like there was a plan on the horizon. Right. Sam Darnold was a big red flag for me with Matt Rhule. Losing to the Giants was the one that really kind of pushed me over the edge and made me go, yeah, this bum needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually end it with this. We're going on an hour and 30 minutes. I think that's a good length for a Friday show. What I'm going to do is this. I'm gonna give you mine because mine's kind of a two-part answer, and then I'll let everybody give their own score predictions, and we'll get out of here. How about that? I had two times when I felt like the season was over. The first one, and I kind of categorize these as before Cam and after Cam, so pre and post. Before Cam, when we had lost to the New York Giants, the way that we did, that was so embarrassing. It absolutely like damn near devastated me, man. I'm like, everything I thought that was true about this team is 100% false, man. We have no fight. Our offense looks absolutely inept. And it's like, dude, this team is dead on arrival. It's like, a complete failure from top to bottom. Then there's post Cam Newton's return, and it's that Washington game. Because even when our offense, if you remember, our offense kind of held tough against the Washington football team. Like, we did enough to be competitive. But then, even though they had been the best part of our team the whole year, our defense just absolutely shit the bed against Taylor Heineke. Nobody could cover. What's Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry over there for Washington. It was just a bad day all around, man. And it's like no one could do anything to stem the tide. And it just reminded me of everything that Cam Newton is used to with the Panthers, having to overcome a terrible O-line, up and down play from receivers, and then your defense, which had been good, falls off a cliff. It's like, bro, come on, man. What are we doing? It's so embarrassing. It's like hard to even talk about, We put a lot of time into the podcast, into this fandom, wanting to see this team do well. And then to just have the rug pulled out from under you year after year after year. It's like you understand why this fan base is on edge, man. Where it's like we can only take so much of this before Panther fans just become completely apathetic and just don't even care no more, man. That's a real danger, and I kind of already feel that happening to some degree. But man, it's tough, dude. It's tough. But look, I'm gonna give my score prediction going into this week. I'll actually lead us off and let everyone else give us their prediction, and then we'll get out of here. I'm saying that the Buffalo Bills are going to win 28-14. Josh Allen is going to be playing. Stephon Diggs is playing. I think that as long as you have those two, those are probably they're up there with the best quarterback receiver combo in the NFL. Like, they have a tremendous connection. Josh Allen's probably going to run the football. So, yeah, Panthers North. I think they're going to win by 14 points, and they're going to get a W on the Carolina Panthers. We'll go to Kenneth next. Kenneth, I appreciate you joining us, man. And what is your score prediction for the game?
I don't know if you paid attention. I posted in the chat a while ago, and I'm going to stick with it. 42-6. Bills.
Oh, damn.
I believe we're going to get blowed out. I believe that because the Bills have been embarrassed the last few weeks. They just have. I mean, we've all seen it if you watched them. I believe we're going to their place, and I believe they see a team that is down, and we are. We have a tendency. I mean, it's not we all pay attention to the Panthers. It's not hard to beat us. It's very easy for a team to go in there and beat us because you know what you need to do. Beat up the quarterback because our offensive line is weak, and they can. We not only that, but they can run on us. Now they're not a good running team. They haven't run good all year. True. But you watch them produce a bunch of runs against us this year. I mean, they're just going. We are the team for everybody to get better at.
Yeah, and I will say this: I do think that the only way the Panthers could keep it competitive is if they aren't able to run the football outside of Josh Allen. Because even though Josh Allen's probably their best running threat, he has an ankle injury. Right. So they might not want to run him a bunch and subject him to further contact and further damage if they just have a tough time running the football. Right. Another thing that I wanted to mention that I want everyone to keep their eyes on is Stephon Diggs versus Stephon Gilmore, because I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup between potentially the best receiver in football and potentially the best corner in football. So that'll be a damn good match to watch.
Also remember their running backs are Devin Singletary, Matt Breida, and Zach Moss. They have a good stable of running backs.
Yeah.
They just haven't, for whatever reason, they're not working right now. Maybe they don't. This would be a good game for them to come in and get a bunch of running yards. Because let's just be honest. Once they start running to the outside, I don't see that we got anybody on our defense that's going to stop them.
Hell, forget the outside, just left. Once they run left, we're like, shit, there they go again.
So
Hassan Reddick's a great rusher, but he really sucks at stopping the run.
It's not just Hassan Reddick; it's Brian Burns.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're not built to stop the run; they're built to attack the quarterback.
Yeah. So, Brad, what say you, man? Do you think what do you think the final score is going to be, and how does the game look?
44-9 Bills. I think we're going to get blown out this week. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think that Josh Allen will be sitting in the fourth quarter, and they'll bring in Mitch Trubisky, and Trubisky will drop a touchdown on us too. I really do.
I see that.
By the way, I love this comment, Stephon on Stephon violence. That ought to be fun. But yeah, so wait, did you say 44-9?
44-9, yeah.
Yeah, and then Tony brought up the point on the Tuesday show. Whenever the Buffalo Bills lose, normally they come back with a vengeance. So
and they've lost three straight.
Yeah, man.
This is a big time get right game for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
couldn't have come at a better time for them. I'll say that. Mike, the Supreme Leader, happy you could join us today, man. Give us your final score prediction and tell us what you think's going to happen.
All right, my broskies. I'm gonna lay it down like this. All right. The Bills, they're a great team. Okay, regardless of the record, regardless of that ugly loss to the Jaguars, they're a great team. I'm going to say that if the pass rush can get it together, because to me their running game's ass. So if the pass rush can get it together, because they're going to funnel it through Josh Allen, right? They're down Tre'Davious White for the season. So maybe DJ Moore can finally blow up. I'm going to say, and I'll probably be the only one to say, that we're going to win.
I like it, man.
20-14.
All right, 20-14. The Panthers pull it off. I like that, man. I like that. Not everyone picked against the Panthers. We have somebody that's like, all right, dude, the Bills are on a 3-game losing streak. We're going to pull it out. I like that, man. And 20-14.
We're great on the road.
Yeah, and you know what, Mike? To your credit, I think that if the Panthers did win, that's what the score would look like. It would be a low-scoring, kind of grinded out kind of affair. I could even see it coming down to like a fourth quarter, like late last-minute drive for the Panthers to even do something, you know? But no, I like that score, man. That's definitely an interesting one. My man CK here again, joining us on the Friday Free For All. I appreciate you hanging out with us, bro. What do you think? What do you think the future holds for the Carolina Panthers against the Buffalo Bills?
It is so hard to figure out which Bills team is going to show up. The only reason that I kind of can see what Mike is saying is the strength of the Buffalo Bills have been their passing, right? And we are very good against the pass because we can get the pass rush going and all that stuff. So I don't know that it's quite a blowout. I don't think we win this, but I do believe that this is the get right game for the Bills. I think they're going to win by, at least 2 touchdowns. So I'm going to say we score 14 and they score 28. So 28-14.
Okay, yeah, we have the same. We got the same score. Yeah. I think a 14-point difference is
Who
reasonable.
who plays more, Sam or not Sam? God bless, not Sam. Cam or
PJ.
PJ?
I
but
think it,
over Sam might play. Somebody might get COVID.
and so
PJ's only playing for 15 minutes.
they put it out that Cam Newton and PJ Walker have been separated. They're in 2 different QB rooms because Matt Barkley tested positive for COVID, so they don't even want to take the chance of having either of them catch it. But yeah, dude, rough. Nick, my man, give us your. Did you give us your final score prediction? I know you got the Bills winning, but I don't know about your final score. Nick, you're with us. You're muted, man.
I don't know why I'm muted. I honestly think that it's going to be a close game. Just with Josh Allen being hurt, I think our defense might wake up a little bit this game. I'm going to go 24-17 Bills.
24-17. All right.
Yeah.
Let me throw this question out there real quick. We know they talked about the COVID and somebody in an emergency quarterback. They've mentioned Brandon Ziltra and that running back. I think he's on practice.
Reggie Bonifant.
Yeah, Reggie Bonifant.
If you had to pick an quarterback, one of them to go in there for whatever reason, who would you pick?
Matt Rhule.
Matt Rhule. That's how he get hit. Then we can see how much he's impressed with Pat Elflein and Cam Irvin.
Let's see if he starts to blame the offensive line at that point in time.
Yeah, there you go. But Brandon Ziltra's actually had some pretty good passes on special teams I've seen of. He might be the best quarterback on his team.
So my answer is kind of mean spirited. DJ Moore is on record saying he doesn't play in the backfield because he doesn't like all the hits that they take. I say put DJ back there, man, and have him see what it's like to play quarterback behind this terrible Panthers offensive line, and he's having to get torched no matter what, destroyed all the time. Let's see how he would hold up.
You know who we need to put at quarterback is Steve Smith. Because soon about one time they let him get sacked, he's gonna punch someone in the mouth.
I love it, dude. We need that Steve Smith energy on the team now, man.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll draft someone that brings that same kind of fire. I don't know, but all right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another edition of the Friday Free for All, man. I appreciate you all for hanging out with me, man. Every Friday, man. This is the cult of Free for All, man. We have a good ass time talking about the Carolina Panthers. Have a fantastic chat room to be able to put their comments up on screen, bro. Hey, look what Karen Choi says. We need to put CMC back there. Maybe that'll extend his career if we put Christian McCaffrey at the quarterback position.
He's already got COVID. He's already on the list.
Yeah, true. Yeah, he's not an option. Dang. Christian's really not an option for anything, man.
Yeah. Y'all maybe already knew this. I just found out a while ago. Both Washington's starter and backup quarterbacks are on COVID. Kyle Allen and Heineke both are on.
You know what we didn't talk about tonight? How Kyle Allen looked like Kyle Allen the last game.
Oh, yeah.
He came out and he fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
I'm so happy he's not on the team anymore.
You know who Washington's third string quarterback is, don't you? Or the guy on the practice squad?
Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert. He used to be a Panther.
Dude, the Buffalo Bills and the Washington football team are the home for every former Panther player that's ever been. We didn't even mention that the Buffalo Bills have the Buffalo Bills have 5 former Panther players. Mario Addison's there, Star Latule's there. McDermott, dude, it's crazy.
Mario Addison showing his age this year really bad though. I believe it'll be last year playing.
I watched one game and he showed out. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But we will be back Sunday after the game for the C3 post game show. Come and get some of that that Panthers therapy that you'll be so in desperate need of. And gentlemen, that's it for me, man. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe,
Go
hit
see
the
Spider-Man.
notification bell. Yeah, go see Spider-Man. That comes out. That looks looking like a cool movie.
Already it's got one of the highest ratings on the Rotten Tomatoes, actually.
Oh shit. Might need to go and
Don't
check it out.
spoil that shit. Don't be that guy.
Yeah,
Don't post spoilers. Until then, I appreciate everybody. This has been another edition of the Friday Free for All. Until next time, Panther Nation, keep pounding.
Keep pounding.